So this question is, how can God be Jesus while God told us to wait for his son from heaven? Please explain that. Philip is asking.
So thank you, Philip. That is an incredibly deep and profound question, one that gets really at the heart of Christianity, right? How is Jesus God? How can he be? And we need to just take a step back first and sorry, we're fighting over the mouse. My mouse. All right, so let's take a look at first John 3:16. Let's take a look at that. So how can Jesus be God and Son at the same time? So, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And this verse can be a source of a lot of confusion, right? We see God and we see this Son concept, and we see that word begotten. What does that mean? We think, almost like God somehow gave birth to Jesus, and so therefore Jesus must be secondary or not equal to God. But that word begotten means, it's in Greek, it's monogenes. What it means is a one of a kind. So Jesus is a one of a kind Son of God, because we know we're all going to be called sons and daughters of God. That's what he wants to call us. We're his children, but we're more kind of like the adopted children. And then the angels, the Bible calls angels sons of God, but they're created beings still. But God, Jesus is one of a kind. That's what it's saying. He's a son of God, but he's one of a kind. It's not telling us that he was born out of God or something like that. It's just he's unique and beyond us in any way beyond what we can comprehend. So that's important context there. Now, what are we told about Jesus, though? We're told in John 1, starting at John 1, verse 1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word." And there can be no doubt that this word is talking about Jesus. We could do a Bible study on it, but Jesus is often referred to as the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So Jesus is there with God, and he also himself is God. He was in the beginning with God. In the beginning. This is before anybody else was there. Anybody was around. Jesus was there in the beginning. And, get this, all things that were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. So Jesus is the source of life. Jesus is the creator. Jesus is the one doing all these things. Jesus is very, very special in the sense of how the Godhead decided to break up roles. So yeah, there's arrangement between Jesus and the Father, and Jesus says the Father is somehow above me, but he's not saying that I'm not God. He's not saying I'm not all-powerful also. He's just saying they have, in a sense, an arrangement, almost like the closest analogy he gives is like a father-son relationship. And in the Bible times, the eldest son, that firstborn son, was almost as good as, or having a lot of the authority of the father, or seen to be the inheritor of the father's authority. So it's a big deal. So when the Bible also refers to Jesus as the firstborn, it's not necessarily saying Jesus was the first one born of the Father. What it's saying is he's in a very high position. He's a very special position and should be seen as the heir, the one who will have the power and authority. And we are told later on Jesus will be given all power and authority. He will be the one who will reign. The Father is happy to see that happen. The Father is happy to see Jesus lifted up and glorified and magnified, and the one receiving praise. And Jesus is the one with whom we have that special connection with, because he became like us and died for us, experienced all of our temptations. So Jesus is unique. So he is the Word that became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory only of the begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And you might hear objections in the about the Old Testament where it says in Deuteronomy 6:4, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one God." But that word "one" is the same word "one" that's used for a man and a woman shall become one flesh. Is this concept of multiple, or like two things becoming one thing. or two or three things becoming one thing. You see that word one again in Genesis 1, where it says, and the evening and the morning were one day. Talking about the first day of creation. Two parts, the evening and the morning becoming one day. So it's the same thing. The Bible is not saying there is just one single God, one entity that's God. It's saying there's a unity of beings who are God. And so we end with John 10, starting at verse 30. John 10, verse 30, it says, I and my Father are one. This is Jesus speaking. I and my Father are one. And what does the next verse say? Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Why do they want to stone him? Because they understood Jesus was claiming to be God. So yes, Jesus is, we could say Son of God, but Jesus also is God himself.